Welcome, everybody. Okay, I'm going to be interviewing, as first introducing and then the question. So everyone will get their introduction in turn, and the first panelist today is Mr. Chad Olin. He's the co-founder and CEO of Supermind, a precision brain health and human performance company that uses EEG brainwave data to personalize mind and brain training for each individual's nervous system, built to serve those suffering from stress, anxiety, depression, and burnout. Chad, in 60 seconds, walk us through what happens when somebody sits down with Supermind for the first time. What does the experience look and feel like, and what changes occur in the brain?
Absolutely. Thank you, Anna. How cool would it be if in just 15 minutes we could measure exactly how your brain works and identify patterns of thought, beliefs, emotions that are keeping you stuck? So we refer to that as a brain map. That's the first step in the Supermind journey. And we then personalize a session plan to help rewire the brain and eliminate mental health issues like anxiety, stress, burnout, PTSD, depression in just 10 days.
Thank you, Chad. Perfect. Our next panelist is Tara Smith, certified holistic health practitioner and advanced rejuvenation coordinator at the Regenerative Medicine Clinic in Sarasota, Florida, and a brand ambassador for Midas and Scientific. This is a cutting-edge longevity mitochondrial health company specializing in therapeutic-grade supplements that target cellular energy, detox, and deep healing at the mitochondrial level. Tara, we hear about mitochondria and cellular health everywhere these days. What does it really mean in practice, and how does your approach at Advanced Rejuvenation, Midas, and Scientific differ from the traditional approach?
Thank you, Anna. Is this on? Can you hear me? Yes, okay. Well, I would say that the mitochondria are the powerhouses of our cells. Without well-working mitochondria, we're going to have some limitations, and things that can interfere with optimizing mitochondria would be toxins, infections, poor circadian rhythm, poor gut health. So what we do is a multifaceted terrain approach where we want to optimize. We want to get rid of any, what I would call interference, so that the body can thrive. And then through stem cells, through mitochondrial support, things like methylene blue, hyperbaric oxygen, we're going to optimize mitochondria. And with that comes brain optimization, optimizing mental health, because there's such a connection there as well. And without feeling optimized, it's really hard to enjoy life. So our focus is really on root cause and optimization.
Thank you, Tara. Our next panelist is Nicholas Tetrault. Nicholas is the president of the Arthur Tetrault Centers and Advanced Medical Treatment Center, pioneering integrative and hyperbaric medicine across Canada and the UAE. He's also a former elected Canadian politician in Montreal, Quebec, bringing a rare combination of political savvy, medical innovation, and international vision to healthcare. Nicholas, hyperbaric oxygen therapy has been around for decades. What is the single most exciting new clinical application you're seeing right now that most physicians haven't caught on yet?
Well, I'm very glad to announce that we are signing an agreement with the McGill University, which is like the Harvard University of Canada, with the Faculty of Medicine, and also with the Montreal Jewish Hospital Oncology Department. The head of the department's name is Dr. Gerald Baptiste, one of our foremost best oncologists in Canada. And we're going to test on rats, and our hypothesis is that we'll have drastic improvements in the efficacy of immunotherapy and chemotherapy under hyperbarics. We're going to test from 1.1 atmospheric of pressure to 2.5, and we're very hopeful at the same time that it will reduce the side effects of chemotherapy with patients. So I think that's the next frontier, is helping people with cancer improve the efficacy of their treatments.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. Hyperbarics are a very innovative treatment. We have another person on our panel also focused in a similar field. That is Valentin Ancuta. Welcome, Valentin. Valentin is the co-founder of OxyHelp, leading European manufacturer hyperbaric oxygen chambers engineered for clinical performance, athletic recovery, and longevity protocols. Since founding OxyHelp in 2013, Valentin has brought over 12 plus years of engineering expertise to building the company into a global force in hyperbaric technology, with approximately 3,000 chambers deployed across more than 50 countries and over 5 million combined hours of user experience worldwide. Valentin, hyperbaric oxygen was once reserved for wound care and decompression sickness. What are the most compelling regenerative and longevity applications you're seeing with OxyHelp chambers today? And what would be impossible, what now is happening that may have seemed impossible 10 years ago?
Firstly, post-concussion, traumatic brain injuries, studies coming from Shai Efrati, Amir Hadani shows that what was considered permanent damage is actually underperfused oxygen tissue, which can be fixed or elevated with hyperbaric. Secondly, top elite athlete players. Some of our clients I can mention here, it's like Diogo Dalot, Sergio Ramos, Cristiano Ronaldo more recently. At the club level, Eintracht Frankfurt. They're using hyperbaric not just as recovery, faster recovery for like injuries, but also a good way, a fast way to recover after a long training session, the insane schedule they have. Thirdly would be the integration layer. What hyperbaric goes further and is not about having just, hyperbaric becomes just an embodiment within the same session. You can have hypoxic priming, you can have far infrared, pulse electric magnetic frequency, photobiomodulation, brainwave entrainment. So it's not necessarily stacking therapies, but putting them in the right physiological order for the human body and achieve more.
Thank you, Valentin. Our next panelist is Raj Kandapalli. Welcome. Raj is the co-founder and CTO of VitalFriend.com, a generative AI-powered vitals monitoring platform that connects wearable technology, care teams, physicians, and families in real time, built specifically to transform senior care and assisted living. Raj, AI health monitoring is a crowded space. What does VitalFriend do that no one else is doing? And what does AI-powered preventive care actually look like in practice?
Great question. Unlike other players in this space, we do look at three things. One is clinical graded device, which can be trusted with the data. And then we do continuous monitoring. And number three is the reimbursement program. So combined into a single unified platform. So we collect 24/7, approximately 1,440 data points per day per patient. And then we analyze. On top of that, we build an AI layer on top of it to analyze the data and identify the trends that are happening in every patient. And then also we have, one of the things that we are working on and we are launched recently was medication efficacy. How do you know that the medication that you are taking today is working effectively? Because you take a medication for a couple of weeks and then you go to the hospital and do the tests again. What we are trying to say is, before the medication and after the medication, based on your medication schedules, we can program the device so that it collects your vitals. So it creates a trend and see the medication efficacy more effectively than any other program that's there out there in the market today. And with that, we have, as I said, the combination of all these three factors. We are completely different from any other place in the market.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Raj. Ellen Brown, welcome. Ellen is author, podcast host, and co-founder of Crusonia, a capital coordination vehicle designed to unlock what she identifies as the largest misallocated market in the American economy. Drawing on decades at the intersection of healthcare, finance, and systems thinking, Ellen is architecting a new model of health insurance that redirects capital upstream towards prevention, root cause care, and long-term health outcomes rather than downstream symptom management. Ellen, most people in this room have made peace with the fact that America's healthcare system is unfortunately broken. You're saying it's not broken, it's actually misallocated. What in the market is nobody seeing clearly, and what does it look like when that is finally fixed?
So I think these microphones are tricky. You have to kind of put them really close to your mouth. Sorry. I would answer that as it's the chronic disease epidemic. So most people think about the fact that we have a $5.3 trillion healthcare industry, we have a $2.6 trillion food industry, we have another trillion in non-redundant wellness and longevity. A lot of the pieces of those markets are sitting on the stage, right? What people are not looking at is that we've always seen three separate industries, but we really have human outcomes, which is a $9 trillion combined economy. And no one's focused on that particular economy. And so what we're doing is really trying to move back upstream and say, look, we don't need to have it a foregone conclusion that people have to get sick. That's how our health insurance, that's how our healthcare structure is assumed, is that you will end up in an acute care system, and our dollars are flowing downstream for that, and we're investing in that manner. But the truth is that everybody in this country wants to be, and in this world, wants to be healthy. And so by unlocking the human outcomes component of things, now all of a sudden people understand the impact of what's happening in the soil that's ultimately coming up into the ingredients, into the food that's being sold to them, that they're eating, that then is causing the mitochondrial dysfunction that we need all of the fun things on this stage to fix. So we're really going back to the root cause and connecting that and creating a $9 trillion economy, making basically healthcare optional.
Thank you, Ellen. Our next panelist is Greg Downey. Greg is the managing director of Purim Ventures, a Sarasota-based investment firm focused on healthcare and longevity, backing founders and technologies at the intersection of emerging therapies, breakthrough science, and measurable patient impact. With a career spanning healthcare investment, venture strategy, and life sciences, Greg brings a rigorous yet mission-driven lens to the capital decisions that shape what medicine becomes next. Greg, as an investor who sees hundreds of pitches, what is the single most common mistake that brilliant scientists and founders make when they come to a healthcare investment opportunity?
Too much information. It can be information overload. I think we're constantly working with a lot of our founders, and we work with a lot of MDs, a lot of PhDs, very brilliant people, but they'll come at you with the science, and they'll lose you. I mean, I've been in healthcare for 30 years, so it's going too deep, too quick on the technology, and kind of pulling back a little bit and going, okay, what's the market? What's the problem? What are you solving? How are you unique? How are you going to bring it to market? Or is this just a science project? And so it's really going, do they have not only a good molecule or do they have a good therapeutic, but how do you bring it to market? You have to monetize it. You have to be able to get it to market. So we're really good at talking at that level, but then able to distill it down. We have a good global network of clinicians and investment folks all over the world, but it's really getting to what are they doing, and is this possible to bring to market? And we look at things that can be in market in 12 months to maybe 3 years. We do have a bigger reach on regenerating the human heart using your own stem cells. That's with Dr. Taylor out of Texas Heart. That's about 5 years out. But we try to get things into market in about 2 to 3 years, so to speak. So it's really monetization, and is it coherent? Because there's lots of science papers, but investors want to see things and show me a summary, get to the point, and how do we work together?
Thank you, Greg. Our next panelist is Sohail Zaidi. Sohail is the CEO of Ananda Scientific, a clinical stage biotech developing cannabinoid-based therapeutic for PTSD, social anxiety, and opiate use disorder with proprietary liquid structure delivery technology developed in partnership with Hebrew University of Jerusalem and multiple FDA IND approvals. Sohail, CBD and cannabinoids are everywhere in gummies, coffee, cosmetics. Help this audience understand what is the difference between consumer CBD and what Ananda Scientific is doing at the pharmaceutical level.
Thank you, Anna. So that's a great question, and we are asked this question all the time about consumer CBD. Now, there are 3 things that we need to know about consumer CBD that we can find. One, they're available in very low dose levels. Therapeutic doses of CBD are much higher than what is available. Number 2, CBD is a difficult to deliver compound. It's lipophilic, doesn't absorb very well, So that's a challenge which consumer CBD is unable to resolve. And number three, even though CBD is approved as Epidiolex, even Epidiolex has got 5x food effect according to FDA's package insert. So there is dependence upon food, what you're eating and what you're absorbing. So delivery is the biggest challenge for CBD. This is something which was NIH's hypothesis, and we came up with a delivery technology for difficult to deliver compounds that operates at a molecular level. We understand the shape of the CBD molecule and have designed the technology that ensures that it is delivered into the bloodstream and crosses the blood-brain barrier. We went to NIH, showed them that data, went head-to-head against Epidiolex, the FDA-approved drug, and that opened floodgates for us as an ANDA Scientific, and that is why we are working on 6 phase 2 trials at multiple academic sites. You will hear a lot about what we have been doing in the next 6 to 8 months, because 3 of those trials have completed, data is available, and it will be published. So the pharmaceutical grade CBD, in short, we are able to deliver it into the bloodstream and get to the brain and do the therapeutic work that CBD can do.
Thank you very much, Sohail. And thank you also, panelists. That was round 1. Everybody's keeping their answers very short and concise, which makes my job very easy. So please keep doing that. For the second round, onwards, Chad Olin. EEG-based neurofeedback has existed for 50 years. What makes Supermind fundamentally different from what came before? And how do you see it fitting into the future of precision mental health and well-being?
Absolutely. I want to just start with a question for the audience. Who here has ever done neurofeedback? It's actually more than I would have expected. Okay, so historically, neurofeedback has been using an average brain as the model for training. Nobody in here wants their brain to be average. We've developed a new model that is an optimal brain for our targets. So if you're in, if you think about sports, think about Tom Brady's brain. How cool would it be to have your brain work like that if you were an athlete? If you're in business, if you're an investor, have your brain work like Ray Dalio's brain. If you're a CEO, have your brain work like Bezos, right? Or Steve Jobs. So this is one of the huge innovations we've made. And then the second thing is integrating coaching with the neurofeedback. So it's mind training and brain training at the same time. That allows us to identify internal conflicts in your mind through the brain analytics and then make precision adjustments in the next session. So we can get results much faster as a result of that.
Thank you very much, Chad. Tara, you work directly with clients navigating chronic illness, fatigue, and cognitive decline. What pattern do you see most consistently, and how does addressing it at the cellular level change outcomes?
That's a great question. What I see time and time again is that there's interference, there's an exposure. Mold is a biggie, especially here in Florida. Most people have no idea what type of dysregulation that can cause in every system of the body. I see a lot of Lyme disease, viral reactivation. You know, we heard about HPV, but we see Epstein-Barr, cytomegalovirus, and other viruses reactivate when your immune system is compromised. So my approach in running a concierge telehealth program is, number 1, testing. I'm running labs. I'll do stool tests. I will do mycotoxin tests looking for mold. We want to get to root cause. I'm like a medical investigator. I want to get to the why. I always want to know why you have low mood and you can't sleep and you're fatigued and you're just not motivated. And when we can get to that root cause, we have a game plan. We get rid of that interference. We remediate if there's mold. We address Lyme disease or viruses with a really solid protocol. But we do it slowly. We don't want to aggravate. A lot of people want a quick fix. And honestly, That's not how our bodies run. We need to, factor in nervous system dysregulation, sensitivity, histamine response. So I find when we can put these pieces of a puzzle together and create a really solid protocol, and also tap into nature, sunlight, grounding, and also a positive mindset, that you have the belief that your body can heal. That's so important. Send gratitude to every cell in your body. That's where true healing really happens.
Thank you, Tara. Nicholas, you operate in both Canada and the UAE. What does the healthcare investment landscape look like in the UAE compared to North America? And where do you see the biggest opportunity for innovators in this room?
It's a good question. I'm actually looking at hybrid models in the UAE and trying to form maybe partnerships with some hospitals. I'm actually going to be there in 2 weeks. So we'll see what route we'll take. We're also operating out of Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico, where I find the system and the government bylaws less restrictive, more open-minded. In fact, lots of American companies involved in very, very, we often say that there's two sets of medicines, and a lot of the VIPs and the world leaders and political leaders, they actually go to Monterrey or San Pedro Garza Garcia, Nuevo León, where my son is being treated. And I find that, unfortunately, one of the biggest issues, and I'm not figure skating around your question, but I want to make this point clear. By imposing so many restrictions and bylaws and rules and regulations, we are actually blocking change in Canada and in the US. And a lot of that money now is being short-circuited outside of these two beautiful countries, sister countries, and we have to address this issue. And I think that's a fundamental issue. And I also, my last political comment, as also I'm a former elected politician and advisor to the Prime Minister, I find that Big Pharma is a closed club. And I find that because I travel around the world to meet some of the best scientists, and I find that there's so much technology out there, and solutions, and medications, and proven efficacy beyond the shadow of a doubt. But some way, somehow, these people are not part of the club, and they're just being left aside. Why? Because it works. Why? Because there's no side effects. I don't see the logic. And that was my last comment.
Thank you, Nicholas. Valentine, you've scaled OxyHelp to over 50 countries from Europe, competing against both legacy medical device manufacturers and wellness brands. What does the global hyperbaric market look like right now, and what is that white space that investors in this room should be paying most attention to?
Good question. Marketing is bifurcating investors. They have to look at what they're backing up next. So firstly, we have the category of people who are deficient of oxygen. So we're talking whether underlying medical conditions that does not let oxygen perfuse to the tissue properly, post-injury, post-recovery, elderly people where just sitting in a hyperbaric chamber is going to be a great help for them. Second category, we're talking about the elite athletes, ultra-high net worth individuals, people who are metabolically fit. A passive hyperbaric session is not going to improve their VO2 max in a big way. But combining the stress, the mechanical load, rowing, moving your body during the session, distributing more oxygen, the additional recovery therapies like far infrared sauna quickly after, opening more capillaries, PMF helping mitochondria process better than nitric oxide, brainwave putting the brain after a stress session quickly into rest and digest. All these things are going to move for them the needle in a big way. Thirdly would be, which is probably the most interest for the audience here, is this integration layer of what comes out of it. I would say the data that comes out would be the moat.
Thank you very much, Valentine. Raj, can you give us a real story of what is the most meaningful patient or family outcome Vital Friend has produced? And what does that tell us about where this technology is going?
Absolutely. So we have a lot of stories that are coming from all the facilities that we are operating in right now. Every week we hear great stories from these facilities. One of the story that is close to our team is, here most of you guys might have met Gaurav in the last family office summit, where he talked about he was part of the pitching. So when we started using this device last year, we went to one of his doctor's office to demo the device, how it is working. So whenever we go and do the demo, his readings were always on the high end. So, I mean, as usual, most of the people, he was ignorant. Okay, it's one of the number. He was not paying much attention. We went back again to train the team because he was really intrigued with the product. Again, the number came up so high. He said, you should go and check, what's going on. Mm-hmm. So he decided to, make a visit, and then he did the blood test and all the necessary tests that needs to be done. After that, doctor found out that he is in a verge or early signs of serious cardiac issues. So these kind of issues will typically go unnoticed until it becomes a crisis, health crisis. Mm-hmm. So that's why we believe this product, stand behind this product, and it's going to change the lives of so many people. What it tells is, healthcare is moving more from reactive to more preventive and predictable, right? And also, today we look at only data points, monthly once whenever you visit the hospital, to more towards the continuous data collection. Mm-hmm. At Vital Friend, we just don't look at the vitals. We are looking at, how do we shift the health system towards more monitoring, early intervention, and then provide peace of mind for the families.
Beautiful. Thank you, Raj. Ellen, you're building a new model of health insurance that moves money upstream towards prevention, rather than paying for disease which is already so expensive. In plain terms, why hasn't this been done? Who benefits from the current model being broken? And what makes now the moment to change all this?
So I'm changing my answer on the fly, which is dangerous. So first, I'm going to ask everybody on this stage, how many of your products, who is covered by insurance? Who insurance pays for what you have?
Our product, yes. It's 100% covered, reimbursed.
So you're covered by insurance. Insurers pay for your product, okay? Medicare, Medicaid,
everything.
Commercial. Okay, anybody else? Okay, that's my point. But how many of us sit in this room and hear each of these products and think that this is what we should be getting for our health, correct? How many people think that their health insurance company actually covers what they want to indulge in to take care of themselves? Okay. That is the problem. So we have millions of people that are being priced out of health insurance entirely, or that are spending all of their money on insurance. I'll give you a fun fact. Over 100 years, between 24 and 27% of consumer income has gone towards the combination of food and healthcare. So for 100 years, people inherently understand that a quarter of their money should go towards their health. But it used to be that they spent less than 5% on healthcare and 95% on food. And now they spend 95% on healthcare and about 5% on food. That has to change. The biggest driver of our healthcare expense in our health insurance is chronic disease, and the majority of it is diet related. So what we have to do is break apart our insurance and pull chronic disease out to the side. If you were to go on vacation and you were to leave your sink running in your kitchen, and then you came home, what would happen? Your kitchen would be flooded, right? And if you pick up the phone and you call your insurance company and you say, well, I went on vacation and I left my sink on and I need new granite, they'd be like, okay, that doesn't get covered, correct? With health insurance, we go, oh, no problem, we'll just take care of that. And then next time you go on vacation, do the same thing, you get it covered again. So what we have to do is break apart chronic disease, and instead of paying to treat it and monetize it, we need to pay to reverse it. And that's the type of structure that we're working on in the new health insurance product.
Thank you very much, Ellen. Greg, what is one category of healthcare innovation that you believe is dramatically undervalued by most investors right now, and why?
Gosh,
Tough question. What's the, so what's the least valued by investors? Well, I think there's a lot of, look, there's a lot of cool stuff in that can be gobbled up in the billion-dollar category, small molecule, new drugs, all that kind of stuff. What we're seeing in the stuff that we play in Series C to Series A is that you can make really good returns in a relatively short period of time on technologies that can be deployed today. But they can go integrated functional medicine, they can go cash pay. Because a lot of investors, especially institutional investors, are looking at, oh, do you have reimbursement? You know, will insurance cover it? Right, well, then if they can't, then I'm not in, right? It's like we're in way upstream to that going, well, we'll just help you we'll bring you to market, we'll launch you across the country, we'll take you to the VA, we'll take you to the Middle East, and we drive revenues, and you have a great return. So you're getting an actual better return with a lesser amount of capital, with a lot less risk than waiting for 10 years. So it's just this mindset that I think we've all been programmed by, you know, what we see on TV and what we hear from the big institutions of going, invest in big drugs and big, you know, billion-dollar, you know, things that take 10, 15 years to get to market, cost billions of dollars. The shift that we're seeing, add in AI, add in innovation, the technologies that we're seeing as these early stage investors, VCs will never see them. Because at the time we get invested into them and we take them to market, we're going to bypass that VC channel and they'll be exited before that happens. So I think there's a huge, this is why we like to work with family offices, they understand business. They see an opportunity, they see revenue, they see growth, and it's just show me how this helps and how we get it to market and how we fuel it, and remove the risk as much as possible. That's where I think a lot of people are missing that, and it plays well with everybody here because it's less cost and it's proactive and preventative healthcare.
Thank you, Greg. Sohail, the FDA has been notoriously slow to embrace cannabinoid therapeutics. Where do you see the regulatory landscape going from here, and what does approval for one of your compounds mean for the entire field?
Thank you. So we have been working with FDA for the last 4 or 5 years, and we've almost answered 100+ questions from them. And one feedback I have on FDA in general is that their response to the cannabinoid products that we have been working on has been very good throughout. They've been pretty quick in coming back to questions. And we thought about it, that why is that, contrary to the perception. So one, we are working in an area which is neuropsychiatric, and as per FDA Commissioner at the last Jeffries conference, PTSD is the top priority for the government. So that's one, and I guess they are very supportive because of that. But the second thing we have noticed is that FDA focuses on 2 primary things. Is your drug product a true pharmaceutical grade drug product, behaves like a pharmaceutical drug? And 2, are you following the good clinical practices in your clinical trials? And they're very particular about them, and if you follow those practices, they're very supportive, and they try to make sure that the program moves forward as they want it to go. Talking about where we will be and what's the next steps for us. So our lead program is post-traumatic stress disorder. We are planning a phase 3 trial as we speak. If this trial is successful, we will have a PTSD drug, which is a $16 billion market. There are 13 million PTSD patients in US alone. So it's a huge unmet need. And I'll quote my colleague standing here, that it's God's work that we are doing at the moment if we're able to get a drug for PTSD. So we are very excited about it, and we are confident that we'll get to a drug by 2028.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sohail. So that completes our second round, and we're going to do one more round with our distinguished panelists. I ask my panelists to please keep it to 60 seconds if possible. Chad Olin. What's one internal pattern, a mental or neurological habit, that holds high performance back, and how does Supermind help us release it?
Many high performers are stuck in a riptide, and they don't know what that is. And what I mean by that is a background state of chronic stress or self-doubt or inner critic. And I know this because I was that person. And I tried everything that was out there, therapy, medication, meditation, and none of it really worked for me. And what I learned was that the brain is kind of like an investment portfolio. in that we can rebalance the allocation of energy between delta waves and alpha waves, for example. So that's what we help people to do and clear away that chronic stress, get out of the riptide.
Thank you, Chad. We're changing the program a bit because unfortunately we're out of time, but everybody gets a final 20-second remark. So we will go in order. Tara Smith. Well, Chad, your answer will serve as your final remark if that's okay. Cool. Tara Smith. Do you have a final 20-second remark? Anything that you would like to share with our audience?
Yes, I would say when it comes to your health, be curious. Your body is communicating with you. Don't accept status quo. There's a reason you have symptoms, and you have the ability, the innate ability to heal. So tap into that. Be curious, look at exposures, look at your nutrition, look at your sleep, and you can optimize your health.
Thank you, Tara. Nicholas, a final 20-second remark.
Final 20 seconds. I think the entire landscape of medicine will change drastically with the integration of AI. People are smart, they're looking up, they're asking their questions, and you cannot hide the fact that you must integrate natural solutions, vitamins, hyperbarics, stem cells. You can run, but you cannot hide. And I think if you're a smart investor, you should not invest in big pharma because they're going down in the next 5 years, and people will have more and more say and freedom in their own management of their health care.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. Valentin, a final 20-second remark.
Stress and recovery within the same session, no fragmentation. AI integration that reads your data and adapts your protocol on real time. And evidence-based research. Don't wait for FDA to prove any wellness claim. What Nicholas is doing, partnership like this, people, institutions, conduct your own research, measurements, and lead the way.
Thank you very much. Raj, a final 20-second remark.
I would say measure your baselines consistently, not during the annual test or not during when the diagnosis happens, right? Mm-hmm. It might be too late by then. So it's better to monitor your body signals as you get it. And it's very important for you and your family.
Thank you. Thank you. Ellen, a final 20-second remark.
So much pressure. I really don't like these. That's okay. I've already wasted 10 seconds. I would just say that the families that invest in the railroads, the families that invested in the internet and other plays like that didn't just make a lot of money. They built the infrastructure that everyone depended on. And I think this is that moment for health. I think this is the moment where you can invest in ending the chronic disease epidemic from soil to food to cell. And I think it's time to go for it.
Thank you. Greg.
I would second that. It's, I think I said this, a couple months ago, but it's going, government's not going to fix healthcare. Forget it. They're compromised.
Although RFK is trying. I was with him this weekend, and then again, he's today.
He's a good guy. It's just he's moving an iceberg. So he only has so many years. So, that's why we look offshore. We do stuff in South America, we do stuff in the Caribbean, we're looking at doing stuff in the Middle East. If there's going to be true change in this realm of healthcare, one, it's proactive, and it's not institutional investors. To me, I'm a little biased. We've been blessed to work with family offices for years. They're the source. They're the entrepreneur. They've been there. They've done that. Finding that source, finding those type of partnerships, those strategic relationships is how all this thing will change.
Thank you. Sohail.
Yeah, so I would like to say that we at Ananda Scientific are really excited that for a small biotech company, we can potentially be in 2 phase 3 trials in the next 12 to 18 months. So it's something really excites me, and we would like you all to join us in this journey. We're trying to create something meaningful and lasting.
Thank you, Sohail. And thank you to each of our distinguished panelists. What we're seeing today is a shift from medicine as symptom management to medicine as root cause transformation, from capital as a passive bet to capital as an active force for health equity, from longevity as a luxury to longevity as a human right. Please join me in thanking this extraordinary group of innovators.